3, 2, 1. Wow, that delay was interesting. Oh, man, I did not expect that.
Man, so that's how much of a delay it is for Mark?
Apparently.
That's how much of a delay it is for each of us.
Hold on. Mark, when I put up my fingers... Wait,
he can't see
shit.
Oh, we can't see you.
I have my picture underneath you guys so I can see myself.
Clank, 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 clank,
Clank, clank,
Clank, clank.
clank, clank. Hello
Clank, clank.
and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I, one of your hosts, Brent the Jesterhead Metcalfe, along to my left.
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
Proud of you, and I'm all right.
Handsome John.
I'm really glad that both of you remembered what direction you said normally.
I remember from last time because I didn't want you pointing at the Monokuma and me not knowing I'm the Monokuma.
You try to trip us up so much, I have to pay attention to what direction you call out first.
Welcome
really glad
to the coronavirus
the
part 2 episode.
Part 2, where you could tell we are quarantined. We actually, all of us, question mark, live in Mecklenburg County, which is going to be on.
They live
Paris,
in Concord. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the same thing.
Well, no,
basically,
I'm
stay
actually-
at home.
Oh,
You're gonna be in Mecklenburg County eventually because you're gonna come down here.
Yeah, but I have my vending machines to take care of, okay? I got to go to work.
That's true. You do have to go to work, but other than that, we have to stay at home. We're not allowed to leave unless it's an emergency purpose. So that's food, that's the hospital, or work. That is all. So you will get a lot more of this for the next 3 weeks. Actually, 3 weeks from Thursday. So it's going to be the next 4 episodes at minimum. You'll see us here recording in this very fun manner where we'll talk over each other because of lag and delay. Got the laugh in. Okay. Of course, we come here each and every week to talk with you about the nerdy video game news and the very cool, interesting tech news out there. We, of course, have way too much to talk about. Surprisingly, even in this short week, because we recorded late last week, we don't have time to talk about the fact that Microsoft is offering free educational content via Minecraft. We also don't have time to talk about the fact that Sony has pulled popular Mario creations from Dreams after Nintendo's complaint. And finally, we don't have enough time to discuss the fact that the Cannes Film Festival has been postponed due to COVID-19.
We'll probably talk about Mario next week.
Probably. We do have time to talk about what we do on this show each and every week as we sit next to one another or digitally across the interwebs, what we like to call and deem on this very show the important. Man, that was really well timed. I was a little scared. I think per the how we're recording this, it's probably apropos that the dispatcher himself start us off with his own topic here, social distancing.
My own ironic topic, I guess.
Correct. Yes, yeah. I believe. Go ahead.
So I wanted to hit everyone with this because this is something I know I've been experiencing personally. And it seems like a lot of other people have as well, where now that everyone's at home, internet's at full capacity basically when on home infrastructures. And you know that like basically the understanding from AT&T is that they are operating at full capacity all the time now. So the big concern here is that during the day, during normal work hours where people are working on VPNs and whatnot, you're going to have home internet connections running at full capacity. But then the business internet connections are also still going to be running at full capacity because you have to connect to the business connection, which then has to access the internet. So they have to handle the connection both ways every time anyway. So it puts them in a weird spot of how do they handle the extra throughput? Because the infrastructure is supposed to be built to handle it, right? Wrong. They are built to be able to handle capacity for personal use during off-peak hours, and that's what they build for. They don't build for anything else that would be like major surges in internet traffic or anything else that'll handle that kind of thing. Ironically, the wireless providers, AT&T's wireless system, Verizon Wireless, Spectrum Wireless even, but then all the other like wireless carriers have said, yeah, we've actually seen a decrease in the amount of traffic that come through because most everyone's at home now. So they're on Wi-Fi.
If anybody has unlimited data, please, for the God's sake, just Apple TV throw that thing up there and use your phone. Let your neighbor stream. Let your neighbor watch his porn without the frame rate cut. Okay.
It would be very kind of you.
Yeah, exactly.
That is for sure.
You gotta
Doing
see
a good
them things
deed
in
for your neighbor.
1080p minimum. All right. 4K. I won't, but I'm gonna be nice and go down
60
to 1080p.
frames, 120 frames if I really want to see that like ultra detail going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
At that
yeah.
point, you just download.
That's
all right?
But anywho, there's a couple topics anyway revolving the internet connectivity, and then people being bored at home on the internet that kind of came across this in particular. So Xbox has already put out a notice anyway because they've had a couple of outages with Xbox Live, where they said that they've seen, quote, unprecedented demand. So
I love that word.
Obviously, they didn't build themselves out for anything more than the
unprecedented.
Apparently, they didn't build themselves out for anything more than the typical surge of traffic in the evenings and that's about it. The weekends and whatnot, which still isn't even that terribly high. But now everyone's home all the time. Some people are out of work even, to the point that they want to just be on Xbox. So Microsoft's trying to work on stepping up their game. Apparently, as of recording this, Xbox Live has come back up, and Microsoft says that they've addressed the issues and the concerns. So they shouldn't have an issue anymore with the performance. But the problem is if that surge gets any bigger, well,
who knows? Yeah,
we'll see. We don't know where that's going to end up at this point.
Well,
so
PlayStation themselves actually had to release a comment today that they were going to be lowering the download speeds of people in Europe, but they're going to be like to try and stabilize everything. So basically, online gameplay speed will be fine, but the download speed itself is going to be an issue. Yeah.
So the idea is they're trying to prioritize the traffic of people who are already on the network. Downloads, you're going to wait for a download anyway. If you have to wait a little bit longer for a download, what's 5 minutes versus 2 minutes, depending on where you're at, or
you got
30 minutes versus
the
20 minutes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Who cares? 3 weeks. By the time you're done with your quarantine, you'll be able to play BioShock Infinite.
Unfortunately, we're the ones under quarantine, so not them yet. Anyway, next one down the line. Actually, I guess the last one, on this topic in particular is Battle.net. Activision Blizzard's service, for their games and online play and whatnot. And honestly, so this one, I actually didn't come across an article for this one. I had actually seen the warning come up from Activision myself while I was trying to play Warzone the past couple of days, where they had put out a notice that said that they were experiencing some server issues due to the internet service provider that they had being hit with dynamic denial of service attack, DDoS attacks. So they had a banner up on Battle.net saying that we're sorry if you experience any issues. Currently, we're trying to mitigate some DDoS attacks. Please, bear with us as we deal with this issue. Roughly. But and it was official once I started looking up at PC Gamer. Actually put out an article about Battle.net actually having problems due to a DDoS attack. Tons of people are at home. Tons of people have internet access, and tons of people are bored. Legitimately, that's what makes a hacker. Is people who have access to a computer, access to the internet, and have plenty of time on their hands. Now, the problem is that I expect that this number will increase. The number of problems that we have like this will increase because people are going to be people who have day jobs know how to do this stuff and normally wouldn't do it to fill their spare time because they have a day job. Now may or may not have day jobs. So we're probably going to see quite a bit of a rise in this.
And
I don't anticipate that this last time we're going to hear.
Really comes in and flourishes.
Well, you say that until you lose access to the cloud service that actually has to activate and validate the game that you're playing, and then you.
I have a console. I don't have that problem. I don't know what you're having. What does that mean? I don't understand.
do you have a game? As long as you got all the games in your library that you want to download and play.
Or on disc. I like to buy things on disc, and that's great. I don't know. I have a problem.
Don't you still have to download things that come with those disc-based games?
Nope, because if it's not connected to the internet, it's not looking for anything. So it's just going to play whatever's there.
Call of Duty on PlayStation 4, if I remember right, is completely unplayable without the download features.
What?
If I remember right, whenever you first insert the disc, it tells you, hey, you need to download this to be able to play the game.
Well, I mean,
Of course
if you
you
just
would.
bought the game, yes. Yeah. All right. So that game in general right now is like 175 gigs. It is absolutely in how big that file is just for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're a little nuts whenever it comes to the sizing and all that stuff. But the problem is that for anybody who's going to have access to games like that, if let's say PlayStation or Microsoft or whoever else, now I would say that PlayStation and Microsoft are a little bit less at risk for this. Microsoft owns their own cloud service with multiple nodes to be able to access across the globe. Like Google comes across, I think it's like 100 and some DDoS attacks on a daily basis. But the difference is that they've got the mitigation in place for it already. And they've got such a distributed network across the globe that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it legitimately doesn't matter for them. If you take down one of their data centers, they've got 15 other to take its place across the same country that you're in.
But I mean, it's apparent that not every company has that kind of infrastructure, which is why they're having these issues.
Oh, 100%. But I mean, that's going to be like the backup play then is to go with a more secure plan like this if they decide that this is going to be a big enough threat during the entire time that everyone's at home or on quarantine or whatever the deal is across the globe here at this point. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting place to see whether or not these attacks actually go up. I anticipate that they will.
I agree.
I anticipate that the severity of them will go up, which also means that there's a place for people who are going to be in cybersecurity and want to be able to work from home in cybersecurity. Maybe that's something to double down on. But all I know is that all I know at this point is that this is going to be a problem, or it looks like it's going to be a problem. So
it really is unfortunate because there's so many people who are stuck, right? Like you have to make an income. You're staying inside because of your own health and the health of the people around you. Mm-hmm. And I get it. You're bored, but don't be an asshole. Come on. Like, there's only so much people have access to or can do. Like, get over it.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that it's they don't care about it, and it's not like they've got somebody else that's going to sit there and tell them, "Hey, you're being an asshole." Like,
yeah,
what was it? I had a buddy of mine that's from Romania that told me that why Romania is like the number one hacker capital, basically, of the world, and it's because a lot of those guys are out of work or work very little during the day because they try to scrape past and do whatever, that kind of thing. But they spend most of their time at home in front of a computer. So
Iceland's
for them,
like
that's
that too, isn't it?
Where they're bred, basically. I don't know. I hadn't heard anything about Iceland on that.
I know they got a bunch of hacker servers, or they have a bunch of servers that people use for pirating and stuff over in Iceland. So I would figure the community there would be pretty strong as well.
I think that's because the laws are different over there. That's why the Pirate Bay was hosted out of Iceland for a little while.
Makes sense.
But
Makes a lot of sense.
I don't know. It's just a weird spot that we're going to be in. So I mean, just I guess a general precaution to put out to everyone: don't immediately blame the services that you're using for their issues as far as servers go and whatnot. I mean, unless it looks like it's something blatant, like, you know, Call of Duty server crashing and kicking everyone out, that's different. That's a software problem. Don't you can blame Activision for that one. But
yeah.
But you know, if they're having connection issues and they put out a warning that says, "Hey, sorry, we are having problems because of a DDoS attack," unfortunately, that's a very real problem now, and that's going to become an increasing problem.
Console, and you won't have that problem anymore.
Also, ditch Spectrum if you ever get a chance to.
100%.
Write a letter to AT&T that says, "Hey, Spectrum's or hey, your service needs to get a little bit better too," because AT&T at least will have the uptime, but your speeds are going to get throttled a little bit. And if you have Google Fiber, write them a thank you note.
Yeah, especially because of the fact that you can't get it everywhere, which is super unfortunate. Also, if you're an internet provider, don't be like AT&T and just send people terms of service on Twitter and be like, "Oh, by the way, we said variable."
That's not how you fix the problem. That's not how you solve any of that.
No, not even a little bit.
But
so,
no, it's a weird spot to be in. Unfortunately, everyone's going to be at home, so you kind of need your internet at this point. And if you guys have phones or plans that support wireless tethering, I would go ahead and do the research now to use USB tethering or wireless tethering as a backup and have that at the ready. Actually, legitimately, that's what I was getting ready to switch to before we started this podcast because Spectrum decided it was going to have problems for us. So the internet had started to cut out while we were on the call, literally as we were getting ready to clink clank. And I was pulling out the USB cable to try to get ready to tether. But I would do the research into USB tethering and Wi-Fi tethering for all of your devices that you would need to, especially for work purposes. Most of you who work for banks or work for big businesses, they've already talked about that kind of stuff before. So,
you can go to Verizon and straight up get a connection for through like a high speed connection device for stuff like this. So you will still be pushing, 25 megs
a hotspot
on an isolated hotspot device.
You can get a Wi-Fi hotspot from Verizon, from AT&T, from whoever, that kind of thing, from your wireless provider that can give you a nice backup for the service. Unfortunately,
it would be
if it's
a good
AT&T,
idea just to have in the household,
so.
No matter what, at least one, or at least have someone, or at least have the capability for it. I know that some services you had to actually pay to have the possibility of having the hotspot on, which I thought was dumb to begin with.
Agreed.
But like I know I have 20 gigs that's built in with my unlimited plan with Verizon. And there are lower tiers that are available. So if you have Verizon, you may have tethering capable features on your phone and not even realize it.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, I actually had to go to hotspot earlier today to work on my internet because of a different issue, which was not related to the provider. But yeah,
VPNs
definitely
in
have
general are going to
backups.
slow everything down anyway. You're one of the horrible people that force them not to be able to watch their porn at 1080p.
Yeah, terrible. How can anybody do that to us?
Horrific people.
But please make sure you keep an eye on your own.
You don't need Netflix. Use your DVDs. You go in that. I mean, they just sitting on that shelf. Use that instead. Give your neighbor.
How many people still have a DVD player?
That's what you're saying.
That's why you have a PS4. Again, the console is just so much more useful. I don't know what to tell you, Mark.
I thought you were saying that you should use DVDs for your porn.
My apologies. No, use your DVD, your movie collection.
Legit. No, that's what I thought he meant too.
Yeah, I mean, use your DVDs for everything, for Netflix, for porn, whatever you've got available.
You know what? Film porn.
Download your favorite movies
I'm getting
now.
bored over here. Okay.
Yeah. There's only so much you can watch within a day. No, but keep an eye on all forms of communication with your ISPs. Also, make sure that you do have a backup plan, as we were discussing here, because guess what? It's only going to get worse.
Yep. Unfortunately,
this
is the beginning.
We are just at the beginning of it. Yeah.
Oof.
Yes, indeed. But let's move on to something happier that's going to put more people in the house. GameStop's finally closing its stores.
After GameStop finally closed the stores after last week, saying that they were an essential commodity or an essential company needed for the sake of us because they sold mouse and keyboards. That was their excuse as to why they were an essential company. And there was complaints amongst, and I meant to send this to you, Brent, and I don't think I got the chance to. There was someone who got onto a manager call for the high-up executives of GameStop, and they were talking to all the regional and basically all the managers of the store managers. And it was not good. Like, they're just basically saying, we're trying. Yeah, we know this is we're trying to locate some alcohol sanitizer. We will get that to you as soon as possible. You can go buy it and you'll be reimbursed. All this stuff was happening, right? Yeah, it's just like, hey, we want you to risk your life, especially in high-end areas like, San Francisco, for instance, and Arizona. And it's like, no, people don't need to be working at GameStop for these essential needs of mouse and keyboards. That's not important.
The problem is they're in a spot though where it's an interesting spot to see whether the company can weather this.
Yeah, agreed.
They're already in a tough spot as it is.
They've been bleeding money since early 2019 or 18. Last year in general they lost $750 million.
Oh, I'd go even farther back to since the popularization of Steam in 2012 and 2011. I really think that was kind of a big thing, a bigger thing anyway, that put them in this tight spot, or at least predicted it. So,
okay,
it was certainly the start of the end.
100%.
did the digital
company's
foundry
gotta
in
pivot,
itself.
though.
But the cool thing is that now they're actually starting to close because there was public outcry. One, people like for instance, I saw Gary Wood on Twitter and he's like, I can't wait for you to die. I was like, oh my god, it's so bad.
Wow.
Well, I mean, people are pissed. They're literally putting employees out there in a situation where it can be dangerous for them, if not for them, for the people around them. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I completely understand that they're a retail chain that has been struggling and they're trying to find a way to make themselves their money. But guess what? Human lives don't equate to you earning money. Like, that's just how that works.
Mark, if I could find that video of the guy that got on the conference call, he recorded the call. Like, you could actually hear the call. Dumb. This is not like hearsay. This is straight from the mouths of executives talking to managers. And I recommend you listen to it because it is eye-opening. In the sense of, in a wider conversation, especially for my company, for instance, there's no reason in the situation that we're in right now that they should be asking people to work in this current circumstance. But they are so afraid that they will not recover that they are willing to put your life at risk or even take unnecessary risks, whether there's an actual high-end risk or not, for their benefit over your health. And that is a problem. And that is something to be scared of because this isn't Ebola. If this was Ebola, we would have a totally different situation in our hands. I don't even want to know what would happen. If this thing didn't even, if it was, honestly, if it wasn't taken as seriously as it was from the get-go, the fact that people are taking it seriously now is a good thing. But if there was a mass hysteria in the beginning, that probably would have changed a lot of stuff for us. We wouldn't be all doing the stay-at-home playing on Netflix and doing video games thing. So, the hoarding thing is something that was like the beginning step of the end. And I was like, oh no, here it comes.
Dude,
and it has been awful. Yeah, so many people that just need toilet paper. I mean, watching this one lady, she literally had bought every napkin, every paper towel, and every toilet paper tissue, like everything that was a paper product in that Dollar General was gone. People were there trying to get it, and she's like, nope, I'm going to just go on home. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to go and try to sell each roll at 100% profit on the street. And that is absolutely the most despicable thing I can think of. But GameStop, being even more despicable in my eyes, putting actual people's lives in danger because they know that they can't go without a paycheck. And that's one of the biggest issues that I find with this is that these companies understand that you can't go home without a paycheck because you have mouths to feed and you have rent to pay. And unfortunately, in a lot of states, in counties even, which I unfortunately found out in ours, there actually was not an eviction postponement that I thought was already put in place nationally, but apparently that is not the case.
No, I think that's at the state level because the laws for that are generally determined by what state you're in. So for North Carolina, if I recall correctly, because we're in a state of emergency, eviction notices are extended past the end of, I guess, the state of emergency.
I thought so too, but unfortunately, listening to the news this evening, being Tuesday, it is not the case because you have people who are literally making complaints and asking for these eviction notices to be able to be postponed at a later date. Jesus. And in a time where things can only get worse, it's not a good thing. But to get back on track, because this is a huge topic. Go ahead, bud. Sorry, bud.
I was going to continue the sidetrack of if my auto loan company can send me out a notice and say I can defer my payment for up to 4 months, I think a landlord could, help defer somebody who needs a physical place to live.
I want you to put this into perspective, though. You are going to defer your car. You're going to defer your rent. You are going to defer your house payment. And you still have to figure out how to make these monies in order to pay it. So do they expect the payment at the end of 4 months, or is it just going to continue after the 4 months? My idea, the whole idea of just literally adding your loan and extending it 4 months so that you can make those payments over time would make the most sense.
That's what Ally, my auto loan company, or my auto loan servicer anyway, had actually sent out an email to all of us as customers and had said, if for some reason you fall in hard times, give us a call. We can work with you. We can defer your payments, literally no payments. It will still accrue interest, but we can literally renegotiate the terms and extend the contract 4 months and add a deferment period in here for 4 months. So
Yeah.
that sounds
that
fantastic.
to me is good. That's how everything should be. Your home loan, your apartment, everything should be that way. Or at least say, over the course of a year, we will add these, 2 months, 3 months, and then
whatever
add
the case may be,
a little bit more every month, and you'll be able to survive.
Because there are plenty of people who aren't taking this seriously or do believe that it's going to be blown over, which I think common sense disagrees with entirely. But regardless of that fact, the issue here that you can see is that society itself is starting to shut down. They're shutting down for a reason. So even if you don't agree with the reason they're shutting down, like being a complete asshole about it and screwing people by either forcing them to work in their job or firing them or, requiring them to pay or get out of a place that they're staying, like all of that just does not make any sense.
Yeah.
And a good example of that is that happened to one of our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Tumbleweed.
Yeah, that's right.
Old Tumbleweed was let go from his job and in a very crappy way too. He was just sent an email with no notice basically that said, "Hey, by the way, you've been let go." Which is kind of funny because he still has his laptop from his job and he still has his badge to the building at his job or his previous job. So it's one of those scenarios where like they're in a forced stay-at-home position from a work perspective. Now we're obviously going to be going into a quarantine kind of mode, but like they decided to let him go in the middle of this because they can't pay him to not work from home, which there are a lot of better ways to do it. And since then, unemployment benefits have become available to him and everything else, of course. But the problem is that will nowhere near suffice compared to what he could be making at a job. So it's kind of a rough spot to be in. And the problem is it's become very apparent based on some of the stories I've heard that these companies just don't care about their people.
No, they don't. And it's gross and it's predatory in a lot of circumstances.
100%.
Absolutely.
Because they know a lot of these people, we do want video games, but we have digital outlets to be able to handle this. And a lot of these games, they need digital downloads anyway, even if we buy them physically. So you're not really the solution to any problem that would be even the internet. So if you're going to tell me that someone coming in wanting to sell their games, which you have a game someone touched, bringing it in the store, how are they going to sanitize that? And they bring it all up in this conversation that I want you guys to listen to. It's an hour long, but it is 100% worthy of hearing and he breaks it down in a fairly decent fashion, where they'll say something and he'll break down, this is what this means. And I know it doesn't sound huge right now, but think about it in this way. And these other people who are the managers are stating their grievances and saying like, this is not safe. We don't feel this way. And they're like, we get that. And we're sorry. And
so
it's like, okay.
Is this located in the Kotaku article in the description floating above Mark?
It is not. It is actually going to be in a different link that I will give Mark here after we're done posting. I meant to send it to you actually
or
like
Brent.
3 or 4 days ago. That's what I meant. I was going to send it to Brent directly, and Mark, because
or
I think you guys should watch it, because it is absolutely funny to listen to these two executives go back and forth to try to calm down their managers and convince them to keep working and keep going about this, even though it is in an unsafe way and there's no way to even protect their customers. Matter of fact, one of the individuals managers asked, what happens when we have someone who's been confirmed to have coronavirus in the store? And they said, we will send people over there to disinfect it.
Oh,
and I was like, so they have no protection now.
But
everyone in your store just got sick.
Closure there.
Yeah,
correct.
No.
Yeah,
There's no safety standards whatsoever.
No.
So now what they're doing is they're doing the same thing that people do in Chick-fil-A or Burger King, where you have basically a curbside pickup for your video games, whether it be a QR code or whatever you're doing. But to me, it's still kind of gross. Now, there are states that have shut them down completely, said you cannot operate. Also,
California,
they have given people who cannot work an extra 2 weeks paid time off, and they have given people who are working an extra 2 weeks pay in order to also keep working.
Compensate and all that. Yeah. I think the major issue here is going to be the fact that like they have a bunch of ancillary ideas, right? Like you're talking about the curbside pickup. They're trying to make themselves accommodating, but as closures happen, they're not going to survive. And their program is not designed in a way to have them, like, from my understanding, GameStop has lost money hand over fist every year for the past 5 years. So
Yeah,
there's
it's been
no
awful.
way that they have a bank that can sustain them in a way where they're going to be able to weather this storm. Like if
There's no
this,
way I was going to say, there's no way a bank even looks at them and says, you're going to be able to survive this with the
Yeah.
online platforms available. Like, what would be the point? They've been at a loss probably for the last, 3 to 5 years.
yep,
And
absolutely.
not, maybe not straight up in the sheets, but in their balance sheets. But if nothing else, you've probably seen at least a decline in their income every year since then.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
it's
In a major way.
100%.
Especially this past year, it was awful.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
just talking about revenue. I'm talking about income. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah, they have lost it over and over again. And they've tried game publishing. They continue to do so. They're not losing money there. So it's not like the GameStop brand will disappear entirely. I would not be surprised if they're a publisher in a boutique shop and all these small things. But where it is today, no, they're done after this.
they're going to turn into the next Motorola.
But you have to understand that this isn't just
That brand has
like
been
a
passed around
GameStop
so
thing.
many times.
This is going to be a lot of companies are like this.
Oh,
I mean,
100%. Yeah.
clothing lines in general, the J.C. Penney's, the Macy's. There's going to be a lot of these companies you're going to see start disappearing. The time after this, you will see a huge change in the
Yes.
physical markets available. And I don't think that they're going to recover the same way. You're not going to see this country be the same country that it was from before this virus. And honestly, I don't know if economically it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing for a lot of these companies and a lot of the, I guess, trimming the fat, the people that were barely making it. Obviously, it's going to be a decrease in jobs. That's never good. And there's going to be a lot of overhanging unemployment. And that's actually good for companies in a lot of ways because they can actually have a little bit more of a pick of the litter. It's awful when it reaches a point of what they're expecting of 30% unemployment. And that's where it's really going to hit us hard. I mean, even companies as big as Boeing, which, produce 1% of the total GDP of the United States, is going to need help. I mean, that is a huge thing. No one is going to come out of this unscathed, not an individual, not a company.
There's a reason for that, but
to be clear, you have to take this into a total perspective. There are going to be companies that come out on top. For instance, like me and Mark were looking at the stock market today. I don't know why. I'm not going to explain, think I know what the hell I'm talking about. But Bank of America was, kicking ass in the stock market when we were looking. They were up almost 20%. You had AMD and NVIDIA taking off like crazy.
That was because of the stimulus package.
So it was
the potential
because
for
of
the
that.
stimulus package is much more confirmed now, so the outlook for the economy looks much better. So the stock prices went up. I will note, though, by the afternoon, they kind of tailed off and started to fall back a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's because it's like literally taking an antibiotic, but you only took half of it. And then it's gonna come back and it's gonna bite you in the ass even harder.
The whole one will come when the actual stimulus package gets released. But
I must say, not only that, it has to actually take effect. But no, it's I think bringing it back to GameStop here and these practices. I think for one, incredibly frustrating for the people who are part of it, and two,
100%.
I don't think anybody gained anything out of this. Like I can't imagine they've gained a whole lot of sales off of keeping people there.
Their optics right now are absolutely horrible, which is I think the only reason why you saw people actually getting an extra 2 weeks paid time off or extra 2 weeks pay in general was because they literally knew that they weren't going to come out of this without being literally skinned alive. I mean, the government had to come in and shut down some of these stores in person and saying, "Get out." Like, this is
100%.
not good. I mean, they literally sent out letters and emails saying you will work, that your store will be open, and I'm like,
Damn.
that's just awful.
Yeah,
And when
I think
you're fearful of your job and your livelihood and your kids, like that is not something you should play with. And when you're talking about also being a part of the problem instead of the solution, that too in itself is gross.
yeah,
Profits
absolutely.
over people, never a good thing.
Never a good thing. And especially when you're talking about a company that is struggling with its profits to begin with. Like, if anything, GameStop, I think, would have gained so much more goodwill if they had just been like, hey, by the way, we're cutting all shipping costs. We're going to open up our store online. You can purchase online things at a certain degree. And we're closing all of our stores so that way people can go home.
See,
Yeah.
I don't understand why they haven't tried to go for an online fashion in the first place.
It's because the digital foundry is already there. They're not going to really compete. Like unless
but
you
other
just are
companies
looking
have
for a
cropped up,
physical copy.
like Epic has cropped up. Now, granted, Epic has a lot more money behind it, but like Epic showed up. And I mean, maybe GameStop doesn't have games to publish to actually put out like Origin or Ubisoft do, but
They do. It's just minor.
right. But I mean, if nothing else, that might have still given them an avenue to start with. But they just obviously never explored that option. Now, granted, that obviously doesn't fix the problem of, well, they have physical stores with employees and everything else. That's not going to solve the unemployment. The difference is they probably could have bled it out over the last couple of years.
The only way
or
they're
the
going to
last
survive
2
is if
years
they literally
even.
go into porn.
No,
Do
I
it
mean,
now.
I agree with you.
That's still not gonna solve the physical shop problem. They're closing down.
I
No,
agree
they
with
could
you,
use the
Mark.
shops for porn shoots.
Mark, I agree with you. There's been talk.
I'm going to play this video game.
Mixed gaming and porn. There's been
games.
plenty of people who've said, they're surprised that they're not moving to a publishing platform. I think, honestly, they believed it was too hard, and then Epic came in with a bankroll and was like,
That's what
fuck it,
she
we're just
said.
going to make it happen anyways.
This isn't rated by
They
the
missed their
ESRB.
opportunity.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity. It was a bad move on their part, and I think they're going to suffer for it,
Oh,
unfortunately.
they're going
And-
to... No, they're not going to recover after this. It's done.
No, yeah. So please let us know what you think about GameStop in the comments floating above.
I was gonna
John's
miss you.
disembodied head.
Hello.
John's disembodied head. Who knows where his body is? We'll find out one day.
It's ephemeral.
It's ephemeral. I just love that line so much. The final topic of the show is some nerdy weeaboo shit. So if you do not like anime or anything else like that, you can just stay on because we're fun to listen to. This week, John and I got super excited because we found out that the Bleach anime is coming back.
It's coming back, baby.
This is a big deal because Bleach. So we're going to roll back here. There are a number of properties in Japan that are incredibly popular. One Piece being one of them, and within the mid to late 2000s, there were 3. The top 3 that were bringing in
The big
billions
3, baby.
of dollars. The big 3:
Jesus.
Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. Bleach was a powerhouse in its heyday.
It's
The
still a
manga-
powerhouse. Everybody knows what Bleach is. It's almost like
Yeah.
everybody knows what Mario is, and they don't even play video games.
Here's the difference, though, is that Naruto and One Piece still continue to build properties, including video games and other things, and make money, whereas Bleach has fallen off.
Well, Boruto came out, too, after the fact.
True, but they're making money off of the traditional Naruto platform without even diving into Boruto. If
And
you want to
One
include
Piece has
Boruto, they're
video
making
games.
even more money. One Piece is just
like,
still going.
Honestly, Boruto just sounds like Wario to Mario.
It's a little bit like that, yeah.
Okay.
So Bleach has over 680 chapters. The anime has, I believe, over 300 episodes, and they were hinging on the final story arc. And Tide Kubo, who is the author, announced his retirement from manga. He was very tired and frustrated with the system.
You
He
could tell
ended
there
the
was
manga.
a bunch of those filler episodes that we would get frustrated with while you were watching it.
He ended the manga abruptly, and then the anime stopped before the final story arc. And we're talking, once again, a property that was making millions to billions of dollars. Like, if you include all 3, it's billions, but like millions, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. Like, so much money. So much money. And it just stopped completely. So the fact that it's coming back in 2021, they're going to do the final story arc. Tide Kubo's coming back to create an anime movie based on a separate property. Like, this is a huge deal in the anime manga scene right now.
Oh, I was super excited. And everybody we talked to that was a Bleach fan couldn't be happier. I mean, if you want to feel even nostalgia, Brent's rereading the mangas right now. Less than 2 months ago, I reread the entire series myself. I broke my app because it wouldn't let me read anymore that day. And I did that for like a week. And because not only that, but I was also reading a couple of other ones too. So after, yeah, that was frustrating. But I'm super excited.
Yeah, I can imagine.
This series in general had really good character development. And it was something that I think that a lot of animes look to today for building upon their character developments and story elements. And much like Dragon Ball Z, for instance, did, that they have like the tournament style stuff, or even Yu Yu Hakusho was truly the tournament style, in my opinion, get-go.
See, I feel like unlike those two properties, it also had very good, strict world rules.
Yes.
So they broke the rules every now and then, especially towards the tail end, but they created rules and they live within that spectrum. And that's what good like action does very, very well, is you create rules and you live by your rules and you bend those rules to make fans excited about a sequence, but you don't break them.
It's kind of like
break them, you take it
Super
away.
Saiyan level 7.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, we haven't had a Super Saiyan in 2,000 years, and it's like, well, this guy just went like 7 levels higher, and this is like in one lifetime. What the hell's going on? What kind of water are you drinking, bro?
He's a Super Saiyan god. You're like, wait, what? There are gods in this? This makes no sense.
The best part about Bleach though was a lot of the mystery. So because you had all these, you had their Zanpakuto, then you had their Shikai state and their Bankai state. You also had.
You can't just throw out terms randomly. That's not how this works.
I'm going to explain. Hold on. So Shikai and Bankai state, they're levels. Okay, so your sword changes, and based on your personality, it looks different and acts different and has different powers. So it's like
your sword is your Zanpakuto.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
It's but what's also cool is they also have like magic, like Keto. So they have these spells that they could use, which I feel like they underused throughout most of the series outside of the beginning, which I kind of like. I felt like they could have done so much more with that.
There's a little bit of a power jump because within the second story arc, it's like, oh, Keto doesn't matter because the villain could just break 90 level spells. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just like one of those things where they just abandoned it because it was going to be too hard. But the mystery behind every single one of the characters and what their Zanpakuto, their sword, was, and their abilities and their hidden abilities and their moves were really cool. And it was every time you found out a new one, it was just so exciting. It was like opening up a Christmas present. You could not wait to figure out what the next one was, especially some of your favorite characters, which of course, don't you worry, they saved them to the end. And even some of the well, not only that, but Urahara. Man, she was, oh my god, dude, like that girl, like, oh man, you just wait.
Yeah.
If you don't like character development and decent story, don't worry, you don't have to watch this. But I mean, even the basic level fan, that entry level, will get this and will understand it and will appreciate it, and that's the cool part of Bleach.
So the two cool things I also want to point out, besides our excitement, because yes, I have been rereading it. I will continue to reread it.
It's not too Japanesey, and Brent knows what I mean by that.
It is not too Japanesey. You can actually watch the anime for free on viz.com. They have all of the episodes, all in English, so you don't have to read any subtitles if you don't want to. Also, Shonen Jump app or Viz app, which allows you to access Shonen Jump weekly on tablets, has every chapter as long as you sign up for their program, which is $2 a month. So you can get into some nerdy weeaboo shit really, really easily. And since careful. You're stuck inside anyways,
ain't no one there to judge you. Ain't no one there. It's okay. Get your weeboo on.
No, I mean, besides the money and besides the nostalgia, I did or I guess I should say, in spite of the nostalgia, they're like, this is an important property to John and I. It's something we've bonded over quite a bit, not just between the two of us, but with our buddy Brian and others. So I think this to me is reminiscent of Resident Evil 2 being remade last year. Like, people played that game. They were super excited. They came with their wallets in hand. Capcom made a bunch of money, but the property itself was revitalized. People were excited about it. And I have a feeling that we're going to see a similar resurgence with Bleach in and of itself. Like, there's no way that this is coming back and not going to get not just the fans excited, but bring in new people, have people excited. This is going to be the talk of the town when it releases in early 2021.
I just wish they would let someone else take control over the after reading the end of the manga. There's so much more potential in this that they could have a whole other branch off like Boruto that I think would be really cool.
So you and I can discuss some more after this, but there is a one shot called Burn the Witch, which takes place in the same world, just different location geographically. So
cool.
But anyways, yes, be excited about that. Burn the Witch is also going to be turned into an anime movie, which is coming in the fall. So you'll have some Tita Kubo goodness before then. If you are, again, at all interested in any of this, viz.com, you can watch Bleach episodes for free. You can pay $2 a month to read the manga, along with a plethora. I'm talking boatloads, hundreds of chapters of other mangas that are well worth diving into. If you enjoy Bleach, you can play One Piece, Naruto, and some of the newer ones like A Promised Neverland and Dr. Stone. But of course, I think it is time for us to have our last call.
Last call!
That was really awkward.
Where's my
That's
ding
fine.
ding?
Where's Bellboy? Damn it!
I didn't prep him.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. He's in the middle
didn't
of
prep
something.
I have to. No.
Go ding ding. Go ding ding to my bell. Okay. Ring my bell.
You don't have to go home, but you have to stay home. You are not allowed to leave. You better stay there.
I like it.
You don't have to. No, you have to go home and stay there.
You have to go home. Stay there. We all have our own special guest this week, so I'm going to start with mine, which is the Balmore Single Malt Scotch Whiskey. I got this for my birthday. It's a 15-year, and it's the darkest sherry cask. It's very delicious, very smoky.
I'm intrigued.
What,
Of course, I got
John,
me
what you drinking?
and my bad boy, Jameson Black Barrel. It's my go-to. It's my favorite. It's the thing that makes me feel good.
In the dispatcher.
So I've got the Glenlivet Founders Reserve, easily my favorite single malt. It's like $40 a bottle from Glenlivet. It's easily the cheapest, and I rank it higher than the 12-year, by the way.
Really?
Ooh,
I do.
Really?
I do.
Interesting. Okay. Of course, we have all kinds of stuff for you guys to check out. I'm going to get rid of our Strange Garage descriptor because I just don't think we're going to be building a whole lot of content with that.
Especially if none of us can leave home. So,
Correct. Yes, but you can still check out the channel this week because why not?
This.
We do have a Discord, which is
we got to empty out the garage though.
we have a Discord that you can join. That's actually how we are viewing one another while we record this episode because Discord's a wonderful piece of technology. But please jump in. There's plenty of people in there. We're doing all kinds of impromptu tournaments with Call of Duty, the new Warzone going on, any other games that pop up. I guarantee you can find somebody to play with you. There are plenty of people who are chomping at the bit to play with new people.
PC, PlayStation 4. I don't know. Do we know anybody who plays Xbox?
Akibab. Right?
There you go.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But big recommendation anyway if you want to check it out. We did. He was talking about the Warzone tournament like we did recently. If you want to check out the VOD from that, Twitter or Twitch.tv/Strange Gaming US. Strange Gaming US.
USSSS.
We have the entire recording from all 4 live stream perspective of the 4 teams that played there. And your boy the dispatcher, of course, was on the winning team, so you know.
Drink to that, buddy. Congratulations.
We also have some weekly reading now that you have plenty of time on your hand. I actually found a really cool article from Kotaku that discussed a LARPing cosplaying wizard school that people could visit and the dysfunction that happened there. All kinds of sexual harassment, financial ruin.
Yep.
All kinds of interesting things.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Wow. Up in the, I believe it was in Norway. So you should read the article because it's absolutely fascinating. I didn't realize something like this existed because it's basically trying to be a real world Hogwarts where people can come and interact with one another. And
you've heard of the Zimmerman experiment, right?
I would have thought that, any kind of LARPing community would be respectful of each other because that's how generally the community is for that kind of thing.
If you remember in the story of Harry Potter, they literally have names for people like Mudblood. All right. If you ever heard of the Zimmerman experience,
we don't say that on the show. Okay?
That's what happens when you play cops and prisoners. Now take that and add magic to it, and then it just gets weird and punishing.
I mean, if you're calling school like prison, sure, I guess.
Yeah, the school. It was in the school. It was in the basement of Stanford.
Yeah, it was a Stanford prison experiment, is what it's called. Anywho, some cool. It looks like some cosplay fan has created some awesome Godzilla armor. If you have not seen this,
that was pretty sick.
It is super fucking cool. And while you're locked up, I also have added into the description a nice little section called Locked Up, where you can look at some things to keep you entertained. So you can virtually tour the Winchester Mystery House, which is a house that was designed with all kinds of weird intricacies. There's stairways that lead to nowhere, doorways that open up to walls. It's very bizarre, but you can virtually tour it for free anytime you want. Children's books on Audible are free currently. So
that is
even
amazing.
If you got kids or you don't, you like children's books, do what you want. And then, of course, I have a link to some of the best free online libraries. So you can read any book you want or listen to children's book, whatever your preference is.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess a note to that, Audible, I guess, was putting all their children's books available for free for a short period.
I heard
Just
echo.
like there's an echo. There's an echo in here.
What?
That's interesting.
I don't know how it's working, but okay.
You
I said
literally
that right.
did you not hear him say that?
It's okay. The weekly deals,
Love
we
it.
have Humble Bundle has a nice Capcom bundle that includes both Mega Man things, Devil May Cry 5, and others.
Mega Man
Man
things,
collections.
the Legacy
I
collection.
know. I realized I said that really fast. So if you are to pay just $1 or more, you get the Mega Man Collection, Resident Evil 2, all in-game rewards unlocked, the Resident Evil 2 Revelations, and Strider. If you pay more than the average, which is currently at $11.48, you get Resident Evil Revelations, Resident Evil 0 HD Remaster, Mega Man X Legacy Collection, and Revelations 2, the complete season, along with 50% off of Resident Evil 2 and 50% off of Devil May Cry 5. And if you pay $20 or more, you get Devil May Cry 4, Dead Rising, Dragon's Dogma, Mega Man 11, Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition, and Resident Evil HD Remaster. So there's a lot of savings as well as content in there. Now, all that's for Steam, just so you're aware.
Nah, well,
Yeah,
whatever.
They can't be perfect. Also, you have to act super fast after hearing this episode because it's literally going to last a couple hours, but I put it in the description anyways because Ubisoft is giving away Child of Light for free on PC. Now, the giveaway ends on the 28th, which I believe would be Saturday after this episode airs. So it's literally less than a 24-hour period you have in order to grab this game. But Child of Light is an excellent game. It's probably about 10 to 12 hours long, well worth diving into. Please go pick it up. Please, please, please. Finally, we have our question of the week, which is, what is a piece of entertainment that you have enjoyed but haven't finished, and why? And if I need to go first, I can.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
So my big one has been the HBO series The Wire. Now, I adore cop procedurals. Like, I love Lethal Weapon. The Other Guys is a great comedy based off of that. I love anything that involves breaking down. Like, I grew up watching Law and Order constantly because my stepmother loves that series.
It's just something that comes on and stays on.
100%. Yeah, it just never leaves. And so whenever I became old enough to understand that there's great television on other platforms, The Wire was one that I had heard of numerous times and decided just to kind of never get around to. But after watching Breaking Bad, I finally decided. I was like, well, I finished this other iconic series that people are clamoring about. I should start this other one. I finished season 1 like voraciously. It's 12 episodes, an hour a piece. I finished it real quick and literally started the first episode of season 2 and stopped.
Man.
And yeah, I think it was a timing of life. I was busy with other things, that's for sure. An hour-long episode, though, seems like not a whole lot. There's only 24 hours in a day. Like, how do you balance that? So it fell to the wayside. But I will say, this is a little of an unfair pick because we started quarantining, and as of today, I picked back up and finished, and I am now up to episode 8 of season 2. So,
oh wow,
I will finish it by the time I'm done with this quarantine.
Unfortunately, I've had to work throughout this quarantine, so I haven't had as much free time as you guys. But in the same,
I've done nothing. I've done nothing.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I don't have the ability to watch TV while I'm working.
Well, I think we should throw those specifics out there before you say, well, I've had to work, unlike you.
Didn't say unlike you piece of shit. But I will also think that you guys have a little bit more liberty when it comes to free time.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Let's not fool anybody, including yourselves. But I will say it comes mostly to me with HBO. I don't know why, and it's probably because I'm just not thinking about it as much. So when I'm on my PS4, which is normally where I'm, going back and forth between Netflix, PS4, or Netflix games and HBO, Funimation, stuff like that.
Are you talking about that multimedia gaming hardware where you could also play discs on hard disk?
Yep, sure do. And you can turn the internet off as long as you're not downloading anything, and you'll play the game. It's really cool. But it's like True Detective season 3. Haven't started it. No reason. I know. Don't be wrong. It's not because I literally
is so good.
Hold on. We're not done. So Westworld season 2. I haven't watched that either. Yeah. I loved Westworld season 1. I loved season 1 True Detective. I actually almost went back and rewatched it. And if it wasn't for Outsiders, I probably would have.
That's fair. That's fair.
It Outsiders really it gave me that same feeling that season 1 True Detective did in a lot of ways. It definitely filled in that hole for me until the end where I was super confused. But Westworld season 2, never watched. Season 3's here, and I'm like, oh my god, what? I can't believe I didn't watch season 2. Same thing when True Detective season 3 came up. I was like, I burned through 2 and I still didn't watch 3. Really? I don't know. I can't tell you why, but it's mostly because I have ADD when it comes to entertainment, and I think a lot of people do, where you're focusing on something and all of a sudden it's like, for instance, I really wanted to finish Mirror's Edge. Even though it was a horrible game, I still wanted to finish it. But no,
get out of here with that.
I was actually, what was that game?
You have less liberty with your time.
Yes. So, it was Assassin's Creed Origins. I was playing that, and then God of War came out. But obviously, I stopped what I was doing and played God of War. I only played God of War, and then I platinumed it.
Yeah, you did.
But then didn't go back.
Brent will accept that one.
Spider-Man came out, and then I played Spider-Man. So it was like you just started going with the rolls, and then all of a sudden you look back at your backlog, and you're like, what's going on? So I had to – well, I'm trying to change the fact that I have a backlog. And I put everything into a backlog folder that I can now forget. So,
by the way, I also have a game for you to play.
I don't have any more room in my backlog.
In my backlog folder, it's full. I agree with you on HBO. That's actually, I think, one of the reasons why I was not moving on with The Wire. I actually specifically opened up HBO to watch The Wire, and McMillions was there, and I was like, oh, I'll watch that instead.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. The documentaries that have come out have been phenomenal lately. So that's been sucking me in between The Pharmacist, The McMillions I haven't watched, but is probably right there next on my documentary
It's great.
list.
It's very good.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I mean, how could it not be? It's a great story.
Dirty Money season 2.
Dirty Money. Oh, man, super good.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched Dirty Money, you have not understood what this world is about.
That's the Netflix series, isn't it?
Yes, Mark, you have to watch it.
All right.
100%.
If you like Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, you're gonna like this. Not because it's funny like that, but because it's informative in the same
informative part about how shitty the real world is.
That's what put me on to Adam Conover. Adam Ruins Everything.
Yeah.
That's what put me onto that in the first place. Yes, it's comedic, but it's actually very informative. So Dirty Money I will have to watch.
What about you, Mark? What you got, man? It's your turn. Tell us what your backlog has in store for you.
So this is one I dropped about the time that I moved back from Florida up to North Carolina, and that is the why, essentially, of to where I dropped this. But I never finished Breaking Bad.
Oh man, Brent is not.
I will leave this episode.
Yeah.
I will leave this episode.
Breaking Bad. I hated Breaking Bad.
What? John, you are wrong.
What is wrong with you?
He just watched the first season. He was like, it's bad. I'm like, you have to watch more than the 6 episodes.
The first season was awesome.
I'm just saying that to piss Brent off. I watched parts of it, but it never grabbed me. So I moved on.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good.
I mean, I will agree that it's not like I'll say Scrubs or How I Met Your Mother, where you can pick up from any episode. It doesn't matter where.
Yeah,
you have to start. You have to start and be able to follow the timeline from beginning to end.
You're getting mad at me, and you stopped watching it.
But I at least started.
Mark.
I at least started. I accepted it.
I at least have an excuse. I didn't care. You do.
Well, Marcus, I think you have some homework.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I stopped because I uprooted my life, and that was the legitimate reason. I had moved myself from South Florida to North Carolina. I changed from careers from aviation to computer science and devoted myself to that to get myself established. And it was really a big change, but which puts me here, of course, on this podcast. But it was definitely a big change at the time, and I had just dropped it, never picked it back up. And I don't get me wrong, I really want to, but I also feel like I'm doing a lot of things elsewhere at this point between the production stuff and this podcast and YouTube and everything else. Yeah.
Time
But,
is
the quarantine will help. I will say that the quarantine will help.
So my question is to you is, where'd you stop? What season? Rough guesstimate. It doesn't need to be exact.
Season.
What's the last thing you remember?
I want to say 5. So the last thing I remember was them actually cooking inside the warehouse downstairs.
Okay, so that's like season 3 or 4.
Okay, 4.
If you get to season 5, it's the last season, and you just stop before the end. So you're gonna have to rewatch. Obviously, you can't just start in the middle.
Yeah,
you're going to watch.
I'll have to start from the beginning because literally the only scene I've been able to reference at this point because it's been so long is I had a conversation with Tumbleweed not that long ago. I was like, oh yeah, the pizza on the roof season or the pizza on the roof episode was so obviously the most memorable thing or whatever.
No, there's so
I
many
am
good
the one
ones
who
there.
knocks.
I am the one who knocks. Say my name, Heisenberg. You're goddamn right.
No, actually, the most memorable.
Don't get me wrong. I love him as an actor. He's an amazing actor.
Bryan Cranston.
He's so good. And he's funny.
I think the most memorable thing that got me into it in the first place was my dad, who was watching an episode, and I just happened to be sitting and watching with him, was when Jesse was trying to burn the body with acid in the bathtub.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, of course, it falls through the floor into the ceiling on the first floor.
Yeah. See, told him to put it. Yeah, I won't go into. Yeah.
So did the acid eat the bathtub because he used the wrong acid, or was it just the weight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? There was 2 options. Was it the weight?
You actually blanked out. It was the acid in the bathtub. You actually blanked out on the second option, so all I heard was, so did the acid eat through the bathtub?
Fair enough.
You have to watch the entirety of Breaking Bad, and then on Netflix, 3 seasons of Better Call Saul are on there. And it is, I dare I say it, a better show than Breaking Bad. It's so good.
God.
See,
what?
I've heard you say that because like it gave a very Breaking Bad feel.
Yes.
Like not just because of like locational stuff, although that did help too, but
yeah. Well, in my eyes, I think part of it too is that like I liked Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad. I love him in his show, and that's because you get to see so much more of him. Like in Breaking Bad, he's very. We don't need a Breaking Bad podcast right now. I don't need to dive into it. I highly recommend to everybody, including Mark, to go watch all 8 seasons of this. They're an hour long, or they're 42 minutes apiece because they're on AMC. But fantastic for sure. Please let us know what entertainment you yourself have not finished and why, and if you will consume it here on the old quarantine. If you can't or decide not to, again, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Bleach, manga, or anime variation. There's plenty of content to dive into. If you're looking for game recommendations, you can hit us up in the comments or on our various Twitter handles, which are in the description.
Or on Discord.
Played a bunch
or
of
on
them.
Discord.
Yeah.
We have plenty up there. But until next time, cheers.
Cheers.